Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly. And this is the inaugural episode of this podcast.
Welcome aboard, I suppose. We feel like we've been here for a while because this isn't our first episode of a podcast ever. You may know us already from Surviving Sister Wives.
Yes, where we have been recapping the antics of the Brown family since, 2020?
The Cody Brown family.
It feels like we've been there since the beginning, though, doesn't it?
Like it's destiny?
Almost.
Kind of, a little bit.
And this is going to be our new weekly podcast where we're going to be recapping other reality shows. And we are starting off strong with Welcome to Plathville.
We are not novices when it comes to the Welcome to Plathville universe as well, though, because we've been watching this from the start. Every single episode. And we've been talking about it for a while, but we haven't been podcasting about it, so we thought it was time to change that.
We have a habit of watching families fall apart on national television. I'm just realizing that.
Well, that's kind of the theme I think we're starting out with, but we're not limiting it to that because Surviving Reality, it's opening up the avenue for so many other shows. We'll be able to explore all kinds of topics, but we're just going to start with Welcome to Plathville because we got a brand new season kicking off for it. So I feel like this is a good place to start as any.
This is Season 6, Episode 1, You Kept the Plants Alive.
Feed me, Seymour, I'm starving.
I don't know why that really disturbs me.
Yeah, I guess
anytime anyone quotes that.
You don't like Little Shop of Horrors?
I don't know.
I don't think Ethan Plath is Rick Moranis at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. But the TLC episode description for this one is, life in Plathville is looking very different these days. Moriah leaves Tampa behind. Kim throws caution to the wind and fulfills a lifelong dream. And Micah walks away from his busy life in LA when a mysterious girl steals his heart.
Not so mysterious.
Not very mysterious. They didn't do a good job blurring out her face if we're supposed to be suppressing someone's identity.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Wow.
Full profile.
Did she maybe sign a release later in the season?
I don't know. I think a court sketch artist at this point could recreate her face.
I think we could pick her out of a lineup if we really needed to. So they're not doing a great job with the identity preservation.
I have an episode rewrite. We're going to have to explain that to people.
Oh, right. Yes. If you're not familiar with the Surviving Sister Wives format, Carly has an episode rewrite description because sometimes we know there's a lot of shows out there where the descriptions aren't very accurate to what's going on. The Plathville team does do a pretty good job. The press release they had some inside jokes in there and stuff.
They did. They alluded to some things that happened in the season
with
so
Mama
far.
Plath keeping things afloat and whatnot, which we'll get into. But Carly, let's go ahead and hear the episode rewrite description for this one.
Micah moves in with a faceless Florida woman. Captain Kim lets Jesus take the wheel of the RSS Mumspringa. Ethan asks Olivia to rejoin him in delulu-ville. We're going to have to get into Mumspringa.
I think, there's a lot of jokes that we're going to have to explain right out the gate here. That's okay, though. Nothing makes a joke funnier than explaining it from top to bottom. So let me start with Mumspringa. I think that was as part of the later seasons. As the seasons went on, and we were realizing when Kim Plath was departing from the rest of the family and separating from Barry, she was kind of doing what the kids were doing, where they were having their own little Plathville Rumspringas. And so this was a very specific Mama Plath Mumspringa. So that was where that came from.
Are you ready to get into it?
I think so, yeah. We started off with a very high-level overview. Moriah was giving us a complete rundown of the entire series so far.
This show started 5 years ago, and all you really need to know is they've done a complete 360 since then.
And we mean that literally.
And we mean a full circle.
Because a 180 would imply there are differences that are happening, but they tend to do things in a 360-degree manner.
All the kids have just ended up right back where they started, with the illusion of some added freedom.
They have made some changes. There are some surface level changes, but there's some character type things, some blind spots maybe that they're missing. Even in the overview, they were leaving a bunch of stuff out because they were kind of talking about the sheltered beginnings as a wholesome family. I'm going to put that in quotations because it's kind of a...
I don't think happy, shiny people would lead us to believe it was a wholesome environment.
Not the full story. And maybe it's part of that. But breaking out, seeing the world, experiencing new things. But then we've got tension. We've got fights. We've got divorces. We've got dating.
They did all kinds of crazy things, right? They drank soda. They got swole at the gym.
They learned how to use an ATM.
Temporarily cut off their narc parents.
Not long enough. And they were able to work their way back in there. So we're going to start off this season checking in with Micah Plath. And we're actually in South Florida, not LA, where we're used to seeing him.
I let out the biggest sigh when we started with Micah because I really don't enjoy the Micah-only segments.
Well, I'm just glad we didn't have to see a bunch of his TikToks before we started this segment. So that was good.
A bunch of skateboarding.
Yeah, and him just flexing with his shirt off. I mean, there's plenty of that still, too. But we didn't have to start the segment with that.
He's toned it down a little bit since moving to Florida.
He's trying, maybe. But then this was where I thought, oh my goodness, Carly, are you dating Micah?
I'm going to need you to elaborate on that.
Is this the rumor that we should start? This mystery woman that we don't see her face?
Oh, I did think, wow, we could do reality TV.
Living in obscurity like this? Well, when they first started it and you just see the back of her, the dress of her, and I was like, is he dating Olivia?
Okay, we have to talk about that because she was giving Olivia vibes. Everything about her, from what we could see, I don't know if it was the wardrobe, it was the way she was reacting to certain things, but I'm just saying, for somebody who was very anti-Olivia, he seems to have found his very own carbon copy of her.
Those Plath boys got a type.
That is,
and it is
sure.
Dialing in here because Micah is talking about how he's settling down. He's moved here for this mystery woman, this very special lady of his.
It seemed like they were playing a fun game at first where they didn't want to show her right away. They were building up the tension. And then we find out that she just doesn't want to be publicly known as Micah's girlfriend.
Is she married? Or is she like, what's... this probably isn't the safest way to go then. If you don't want to have a public relationship, I probably wouldn't suggest dating someone who's spending their entire life on a TV show.
Maybe that's not allowed wherever she works, or...
Maybe she saw how things went with Ethan and Olivia's relationship, and she doesn't want to go down that same path.
That had nothing to do with TV, though. I hope that she hides from the Plath parents as much as she is hiding her identity on television.
I would say that Olivia has faced some public scrutiny since she's been on the show, especially in the last few seasons. So
true.
She probably doesn't want to catch any heat if this does go south. You could end up like Max, Mariah's other significant other person.
Wouldn't that be the biggest twist if this was one of Olivia's siblings? Because this family has a thing for Olivia's family. We had Lydia going after her brother.
This is true. It was all over her prayer closet.
I think we're starting a rumor, and I'm kind of into it.
That's fine. But there's some red flags with this mystery lady. Did we even know her name? Did we say her name? Is she Voldemort?
I don't have it written down.
I didn't write it down anywhere either. So I don't know if we've spoken this name out loud, but there's some cause for concern too, because there's a very militant attitude in the household that seems probably very comfortable and safe to Micah, but it's a little bit scary for me personally when he's trimming his beard and then she's yelling from the other room to clean up the hair from around the sink and in the sink and wipe everything down when he's done.
Maybe she's just a clean person, Corey.
Oh, I was almost there because that's not the part. Okay, I could understand that part. I would say, okay, great. But to come into the bathroom after he's done and inspect the cleaning.
All right, it's given Mama Plath.
It's a little bit much.
I thought the list that she was leaving, the honey to-do list of all the projects around the house, that was a little much. But then I started wondering if Micah is paying rent because we find out that this is her home.
There could be, a monetary imbalance, however you want to look at that. But I feel like, Micah he's trying to earn his keep here.
He was vaping on the couch when she was leaving for work.
So he's getting pretty comfortable. Let's put it that way. I feel like Micah's assessment of the relationship, of what a relationship is, because he's talking about the list and how there's so many things to do, but that's just what you do. Your significant other tells you to do something and you do it. And that was when I got really worried about Micah. We knew he wasn't ready for a relationship. We knew why he wasn't going to be ready for a relationship, but this is his first serious relationship. And I hope he learns this lesson very quickly, because I think he's not understanding that he's going into this relationship as a parental relationship type.
All right. So you feel like there's an uneven power dynamic already from the beginning.
The dynamic is off, and I think he's trying to replicate, this is what feels comfortable and safe to him. It's not good and it's not right, but it's just what he knows. So that's why it feels right.
All right. I'm going to reserve my judgment for a little bit longer.
I'm not. That's my read. That's my filthy read, and we can take it as it is here.
Well, back in Minnesota, I don't know what Ethan is doing. He is in his semi-empty apartment, and he's cosplaying Johnny Cash or something while he stares at Olivia's wedding band.
Well, I think he's playing some guitar, not some guitar. He's playing the guitar the way he's playing it. Just like how he plays the piano, not the piano.
Okay. Olivia moved out. I don't think anyone's surprised by that after how the last season ended. And they haven't filed for divorce yet.
So that just runs in the family, I guess.
They're going to beat Kim and Barry to it.
They might. Maybe they can file their paperwork together. It's something they can do. It's a mother-son bonding moment that they can have.
A couple's divorce? I guess that...
MILF divorce?
Double
no,
divorce.
Don't do that. Yeah, MILF Manor divorcing? No, please don't.
And he's been very, very busy, basically just perpetuating the same cycle that led to the demise of his relationship with Olivia, which is pretending that the real issues in your life don't exist and keeping yourself super busy and distracted with other things like working, going to the gym, eating, sleeping, doing it all over again. That's what he's been doing since the day that she left.
And this was their shared apartment in Minnesota. Their lease is coming to an end, which is why he's just stayed here as long as they have, because he didn't want to break the lease. And so now it's sounding like Olivia was making plans to come by and get the rest of her stuff to pack up and head out by the end of the month. But Olivia's already back today, and she didn't let him know that she's coming by.
This was the weirdest part of the episode because Ethan's standing there doing an interview as he's being filmed, and they're asking him questions about Olivia, and someone knocks at the door.
Oh, and it's not just, oh, how are things between you and Olivia? It's like, how are you processing this? We're getting into the deep, dark stuff where he has no idea how to navigate any of his feelings. I feel like he's in a very vulnerable, emotional state, and then you just hear a light tap, tap, tap on the door, and Ethan is confused. He's asking the producer, who could that be?
You saw the moment that it came into his mind that it was Olivia at the door, and he was not happy, not pleased. The most offensive part of this, besides just dropping by and not sending a text that you're in town and you're going to be heading his way, is that she knocked on the door, but then she didn't wait for him to get there to open it.
She opened the door. By the time he's getting over there to open the door, she is walking in. That is messed up.
I felt like for someone who is aware of boundaries, that opening the door to an apartment that is no longer your apartment was inappropriate.
Because I get it. Your stuff is in there. Great. But the way that you left, you haven't been here in months. You very clearly do not live here. So to treat it as if you're coming home from a vacation and you're just throwing open the door to walk in, that seems like the wrong approach to have. The conversation doesn't get much better from here because obviously Ethan is surprised, to say the least, that Olivia is walking through the door to talk about all this crap right now.
He's not going to say anything, though, so she ends up having to break the silence with the, oh, you kept the plants alive comment, which maybe is a little backhanded. I don't know. I didn't really like this entire interaction between the two of them. Plus, they were succulents.
It's kind of hard to mess that up. I mean, I've done it. I've messed it up. But Just saying.
It was cringy to watch because they're trying to make small talk, but they're not capable of that because these are two people who the last time they saw each other decided to get a divorce, and then they've apparently not communicated for months.
Olivia is a very different person from her European travels. She is basically a French woman now.
She has a neck scarf attached at all times. She can't take that off.
And that jacket, too. Meanwhile, across from her, Ethan looks like a Civil War soldier getting his tintype made before he goes into battle.
They've gone two very different directions in life.
Yeah, this is a bit of a departure. We're not sure where we're at here.
So now that we've got the common courtesies out of the way, she brings up, we have paperwork to deal with.
Right, that's right.
She came here like, I am leaving here with my divorce this weekend.
And the rest of my stuff, too, because I got a bunch of stuff that I left here. So that's the main reason why I came. She just completely didn't even realize that she hadn't talked to him. She did not run this by him. Now she's surprised that he's surprised. She did apologize, but at the same time, how did that one not cross your mind? Was this a petty move on Olivia's part, where this is the revenge of Ethan never kept me in the loop when he was traveling and he wouldn't reach out and stuff, so now she just kind of willy-nilly does whatever she wants?
Maybe. Why would I bother then? She probably knew if she texted him, he wouldn't respond. He did that their entire marriage.
It seems like it's either... I was going to say it was staged, but it didn't. It seemed like Ethan was very surprised by this.
Maybe she just didn't want him to have a heads up because she was worried that he would think about it and he would be ready for a fight the minute she walked through the door.
Yeah, because as soon as he sees her, he gets very mad.
Yes. Yeah, that disturbs me, that he has not processed any of this experience to the point that he's still worked up in anger. He hasn't gotten past that emotion.
Well, so I think that's why Olivia's here to kind of assess, too. She's like, well, the last time we talked, I think it was just going to be you and me sorting things out. We'll just sign stuff and we'll come to terms with everything. Are you still in that place, or do you want to explore looking into getting lawyers or a mediator or somebody else involved in this? Because he's clamming up here. He's not saying anything. He's not communicating.
My guess is that's exactly how she expected it to play out, that she's going to get no commitment either way from him. If he wasn't going to answer her in person, I don't think he was going to answer her in a text message.
This is true. So then Olivia's trying to see how she can advance this conversation then, because she is doing all the work here, very much like during their marriage. So she is trying to move this along to say, okay, well, is there anything that you want to say or talk about? Anything that you need closure on that will help you move past this so we can kind of get all of these other things done that need to be done as part of this process?
I'd like to not have to talk about this ever again and just sign the paperwork and be out of here.
I'm ready to close this chapter, close this book, and burn it if we can. So it sounds like Ethan does have some complaints. He's still blaming her for not fixing things with his family, not letting him, not agreeing to the same things that he was able to agree to.
It seemed like he was reacting to some things he saw play out on TV about comments she made about not feeling like he really did make a sacrifice to try to save their marriage. And he's coming back and saying to her, you don't feel like what I did with my family was enough? I think that we've settled this conversation at this point, right?
Well, this was the thing. For Ethan's perception of fixing things with his family means ignoring what happened, sweeping it under the rug, not holding anyone accountable, not addressing anything, and just moving on, pretending like things are fine. Mm-hmm. Olivia made it pretty clear, that's not how I'm going to handle this situation. So if people are going to treat us like shit, then I'm not going to be okay with that. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be resolved before we can move forward. And nobody in Ethan's family has any interest in doing that.
They're not capable of that. They have a family culture of dishonest harmony where they don't want to bring up conflict. They would rather just pretend it doesn't exist and move forward.
So Ethan's upset that Olivia forced him to make the decision to choose between her or his family. So again, he's placing all of the responsibility of that ultimatum decision on Olivia's shoulders, when honestly, I would argue it's because Ethan decided to accept the non-existent apologies and move forward as if nothing happened and pretending like everything was fine with all these people in his family.
I also don't like that he's suddenly forgotten the very real problems that he had with how his parents were treating his wife, that all of a sudden he's blaming it on Olivia. Every single person in this family has blamed their own personal actions on Olivia.
Mariah is suspect number one when it comes to that. Everything wrong in Mariah's life can be pinned on Olivia and has been pinned on Olivia as of last season. So Mariah, as far as we know, is incapable of taking responsibility for anything that she's had a hand in.
Olivia's answer to this was top tier, though.
Oh, yeah. This was another one where it was like, is she being petty? Is she?
Why are we going to have the fight again? I guess that's a great example of why I wasn't a good fit for you.
Okay, that was a good answer. The one that I was thinking of was when she asks him, so you're happy with your family now?
I thought that she was being petty when she said that.
That was one too far. That one went a little over the line,
and
below
it stung.
the belt. You could tell it hurt because probably he hasn't improved those relationships because they're just as shitty as they were beforehand. If he wasn't talking to these people when he was married to Olivia, do you think he is now when he's trying to not think about anything that's going on in his life? The man hasn't addressed the things that are happening in his relationship at all. He's shutting everything out.
No, he's put his head in the sand for months. I don't think he's talked to anybody about what's going on. I think they're going to be surprised, but not really, that Ethan and Olivia are getting a divorce, because for sure he hasn't told his family that yet.
Oh, probably not. Yeah, I don't think he's even brought this up.
No. What I cannot wait for is when Ethan and his siblings have the realization that it wasn't Olivia, that their partners are not going to be able to operate within the Plath family unless they agree to basically assimilate into that family culture and adopt it as their own.
I don't think Micah's mystery woman is going to assimilate to anything. It sounds like she's pretty set in her ways from the way that she's running a tight ship over there.
I just have to say, a lot of people did not like Olivia and the things that she did and felt like a lot of it was her own fault. And I am just waiting for the sweet justice of seeing this family break another person down.
I suspect if Micah keeps the mystery gal around, special lady friend, and she signs a release form before the end of the season, I don't know how much longer she's going to be around after that.
No, these are toxic human beings, and they're going to keep being toxic.
Speaking of toxic human beings,
Kimmy Plath is back.
Down in St. Marks, Florida, and she is barefoot in a public bathroom.
I was trying to process what I was seeing as she was getting ready, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is either like a truck stop bathroom or it's some type of public restroom.
Well, when she first came out, then there was like trailers, and I was like, oh, is it an RV park? Is she, because she's talking about how finances are tough. She's still not officially divorced from Barry. So she's waiting for some checks to come as part of the paperwork shuffle that happens.
They haven't even filed for divorce.
They got a long way to go when it comes to this.
I mean, in real life, they have now.
Yeah.
But at time of filming, they hadn't filed for divorce yet.
Not back then, no. I could tell right away, though, she's not a trailer gal.
No.
We saw an RV. I don't think she's Janelle living out on Coyote Pass without the utilities. I don't think so.
No.
And she's not. We find out she has a different trick up her sleeve.
We're at a marina because she, I guess, is staying on international waters where she can't get another DUI. Is that what's happening here?
Checkmate, Florida courts. How could I get a DUI if I don't even have a car?
I have a feeling Barry blocked her out of all their joint accounts. Like, what is happening?
I feel like that would be the safest move for Barry at this point. He just retreated into his shell. The safest place for him to remain.
Something is up here. She had the option of moving in with her boyfriend, Ken. She didn't do that.
I forgot about Ken. And then she mentioned him in passing, like we've known Ken for years. And that was a weird invite, too, in his kitchen. And it was a weird refusal from her.
Their whole relationship has been off.
It's very strange.
I don't think she's actually that into him.
She kind of politely declined, but she's living the houseboat life. Captain Kim with half a bottle of wine next to that captain hat. Surprised it wasn't a bottle of Captain Morgan.
Okay, we have to break down this boat.
The SS Mumspringa, you mean? Not just this boat.
Also, she has gone full circle because she grew up in Florida with a mom who is an alcoholic who lived on a sailboat. So are we just recreating our childhood here?
Yeah, but now she gets to be the drunk mom. So that'll fix all of her wounds, I guess, because she's going to instill that generational trauma on her children instead. So then she doesn't have to think about it and carry that.
Also, for anyone who doesn't know, because they have not addressed this on the show, Kim has had 2 or 3 DUIs.
A few at this point.
Since the beginning of Mumspringa.
Yeah, she's been going buck wild.
They've just pretend that it didn't happen. They're not talking about it
Nobody's
on the
talking
show.
about it. Yeah, and Olivia's brought that up too, because nobody in the Plath family would ever talk about that on camera. So what's the point of bringing it up as part of any of these storylines? It's nothing that they're going to address on the show ever.
Well, we can bring it up.
But we're going to talk about it. Don't get me wrong.
Because it's hypocritical.
You know what else is hypocritical? Saying that these kids are homeschooled now. I guess they're marina schooled, right? If you're living on a boat, because they're still not going to school. These 3 kids are spending 50% of their time here because, 50-50 custody.
And we're not knocking homeschooling kids. But when you see the environment on this boat, I cannot figure out where they are doing the homeschooling.
Let's say that the square footage on this boat is pretty tight. There's a filthy rug that's outside.
Well, it's an outdoor rug, Corey.
Well, yeah, but there's just a filthy rug that's out there. And then there's just some other outdoor furniture that's butted up against a refrigerator that keeps it. How do you open that?
This is not really a houseboat. This is a boat that she is living on.
It's different.
She has an outdoor patio set on the back of it. Usually you would have like a built-in bench, a table area. No, that's not what we have going on here. It's literally a Wayfair special that she has placed on the back of this boat. And then she's got a card table, a folding table, and there's a refrigerator that is pushed up against where the start of the couch is, the outdoor couch.
The other part that scared me was when she was talking about their bathroom, because they have a bathroom on the boat, but we weren't seeing her at the boat. They use the public restrooms at the marina because those are bigger and it's easier to shower and they're nicer than what they have on the boat. But she has to repeatedly say to the camera, so CPS doesn't get involved, that no, the children do have access to a bathroom on the boat. We could use that. We choose not to.
They have 3 beds crammed into the cabin of this place. They really don't fit 3 beds.
It was just like eggshell foam crate things that were just...
It's the boat insulation.
That's the boat insulation?
That's how the boat floats.
No.
Yes, it is.
I thought that was where they were making makeshift beds out of stuff, so they just threw some of those little foams that you lay on.
I didn't see that. I saw it coming out of the wall.
Out of the wall. Oh, man.
I'll have to look again.
On the underneath where she was talking about the cool spot where it V's up.
The bow of the boat.
The bow of the boat. That's what we're talking about.
I have to say, I grew up around boats. This is a standard boat.
Okay. Not to live on, though, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't recommend.
I am shocked that Barry is letting the 3 little girls live here.
What are their names again? Live, laugh, and love, right?
Hope, Grace, and Faith.
We're pretty close.
Amber, Cassia, and Mercy. And Kim's got bigger dreams than just having the 3 kids here with her. She would love to have all of them. Ethan, Micah, Mariah, Lydia, and all the little girls staying on the boat with her one day.
Isaac? Did she say Isaac?
I forgot Isaac.
Isaac wouldn't fit on this boat. He's taller than all of these people.
I was going to say, I'm sorry. Did Isaac get significantly larger than the last time we saw him?
He's a tall man.
All right.
Isn't he? He just keeps growing. Every season I see him, he just keeps getting taller.
I don't know. Hopefully he still fits in the cockpit of a plane or he's going to have a problem. With Ken.
With Ken.
It's where he is. He's busy working with Ken.
So then we see the struggle of cooking a meal, which again, Kim has to remind us, though there is a kitchen, it's functional, it works. It's just, it's better if you cook the main dish on the grill, on the public grill grates that are just attached to the marina. These are like the grills that you use at a park.
It's an outdoor grill.
The outdoor grill grates are just huge. It's terrible to cook on. They're always dirty.
They're working with what they got, Corey. You can't cook on a grill on a boat. You can't bring propane onto a boat.
You're not allowed to bring propane on a boat? We're going to get Corey's boat facts.
I was going to say.
because we've always had Carly's animal facts where she has no idea what's going on in the animal kingdom, what creatures are real, mythical, and or otherwise. I know jack shit about boats. I'll be upfront and honest about that. I have not spent a lot of time on boats. You gonna tell me you can't bring propane on a boat?
I'm going to look it up.
I found out about the bananas. You're not supposed to bring bananas on a boat. We got in trouble for that one time. Never doing that again. TBD. We're going to do some research on that. That's fine. Amber's learning a lot about her mom, about how she lives life in the moment, how she's kind of a wild and free spirit here.
She kind of sucks.
To say the least. I think that's what she can't say to the camera. I'm finding out that my mom's pretty terrible, but at least she lets them cook steaks unsupervised. I didn't see anybody tempt those steaks, but
they didn't need to.
They looked okay.
Oh, no, they weren't overcooked.
No, they weren't overcooked. They were actually like medium-ish. That looked all right. From what I could tell on the crosscut, you got to cut it on a bias.
That's the way my kids like it. I've worked in restaurants.
Of course. But the houseboat, it's the only waterfront property Kim can afford right now.
And it's a hell of a lot better than living with Barry.
Oof. Yeah. Well, fill in the blank. But his name's not Phil. His name is Barry. And speaking of Barry, he's actually working on his conditioning to catch up with his potential victims. And you can't outrun him for that long when he's been training as much as he has. But he's been training so much because he has a fantastic running partner along with him. Guess who?
The world-renowned artist, Moriah Plath.
Oh, right. Yes. Of circus fame. Moriah Plath. This is like the turtle and the hare in real life. It's a real life adaptation of that story. Tortoise and the hare.
She has moved home to Cairo and is currently living with Barry in Kim's big empty house.
Which is weird because then when they're out for their run, they're in her old neighborhood, not just the Plath house, but also her, what Barry refers to as playhouse, when she lived in a house with Micah when they lived together in Cairo.
I'm sorry. Did he say that in this episode?
He said playhouse.
Oh my God.
So no, didn't like that because this was a 17-year-old kid living on their own with their brother.
Yeah, I would say that's a very real life situation. It wasn't a little house in your backyard.
We weren't playing with a fort set up here. We were paying rent.
God, they continue to suck so much.
It's terrible.
She's got to figure out what's next for her in life because she just up and decided to leave Tampa and she's back here. And like him, she knows that her future is not going to be here with Barry.
Very much so, yeah.
He's given her the primary bedroom, which is really, really strange.
Oh, and it's a mess, too, because Mariah's been there for probably, a week at this point, and it's demolished. Her and her dog, Blackjack, have completely taken over the primary bedroom.
This house is going to be worth like half of what they bought it for because they're just going to let it go to shit. He doesn't have Lydia here cleaning for him all the time, doing the outdoor work.
All sorts of work. Yeah, Micah's not around to do any outdoor labor. He's always digging holes for fences and stuff. I don't know what he was doing in the backyard at his faceless girlfriend's house.
I'm going to be so disappointed if we don't see enough Lydia this season.
I think we are. They had some stuff in the press release about her. So, I mean, she's going to be traveling around, experiencing the world, getting out there. Not really. Probably not. She's
going all the way to Tampa, Florida.
All the way to Tampa.
And back.
Probably took over for Mariah's lease, actually. But we're not talking about it yet.
Isaac's working. What is he, like 16 and a half?
Yeah, he's saving
working 60 hours a week.
He's trying to move out, just like everybody else. Got to get out of this house.
I'm really tired of Mariah always having a sob story. Are you?
It's Mariah, her whole demeanor in this episode, it just felt like the person in high school who complains about high school every single day and how as soon as they graduate, they're never coming back. They're never going to be here and you're never going to see me again and I'm going to go off and do all these things. And then the next fall, after they graduate, they're back for homecoming with somebody else who's still going to school there. And it's like, what are you doing?
They can't let go.
Why are you here?
This place they pretended they hated so much.
Well, they did. You very clearly, you did hate this, but now it's all you know. So there's just this weird toxic bond connection to it.
Is it that, or is it the realization that you actually hate yourself?
That's probably the scary part. And then, yeah, we don't want to address that. I don't want to have to deal with that and sort through all of those feelings that are associated with that.
So she's trying to tee up this whole story here and get us feeling bad for her by saying she went through hell last year and she didn't tell anyone. It was a big secret.
And look, based on the last big reveal that she had with Barry of her struggle that she had gone through since childhood, I thought, what is this going to be? Did Mariah have dry skin last year? Or does she have asthma? Did she have a bad bout of dandruff? Like, what was the thing that really rocked her world to the core that made her move back to Cairo?
And it was another lead balloon because she explains that she had a relationship. This person she found things out about that she didn't know. And then she questioned whether she really knew them at all. And she just decided to move back to Cairo, spur of the moment. And that's where she's at right now.
So we're not going to dwell on all that sad, boring stuff because she also provides no details. We don't even know who the person was. It wasn't Max.
She refuses to provide any details.
Correct.
No. That is not how this works. When you have signed up to be on a reality TV show, you don't hide Kim's DUIs. You don't hide your sketchy, weird relationship. Otherwise, I want TLC to get their money back.
I'm still going to watch the show, though. Just because there's plenty of other crazy that's going on. And plus, I just still get to make fun of all the other stuff that's happening. So I'm going to do that.
There's something happening to her face.
Oh, yeah, that's a problem.
I'm not sure what it is.
It's the lips are getting bigger. I don't know if
I think it's just the way she does her makeup.
I don't know if
she ages herself.
Well, it's not the size of her mouth is staying the same, but the edge of where her lips are keeps getting further and further away from the center of the mouth.
I think she's overlining her lips significantly.
And filling that in heavily.
It's not her best look.
There's something in her eyes, too. Micah's teeth, I think Micah's teeth are throwing me off, too. But that was started last season. He always looks very tired, and something's going on with his teeth. His mouth in general.
A little meth mouth?
Like,
that's an accusation.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's...
Dial it back.
I would say maybe
his eyes were very red last season.
Maybe he moved to Florida to get closer to something. Not just a lady friend. I don't know.
Some imports,
exports, perhaps.
No, speaking of, we're back to talking about him.
Yeah, he's working on enmeshing with his new girlfriend because that's how he sees this. It's not bonding. It's not relationship stuff that's forming. It's enmeshment. The way he talks about it, there's a dependency that's linked in there.
He's starting to miss all of his friends, though, because he had a good life back in L.A.
You got a good life. He did have that, but it seems like his only social outlet that he's allowed to have in Florida is with this girl who's very special to him. That's what he keeps telling himself. And so he's very excited to have one of his old LA buddies, Will, to come out to visit him in Florida. And he gets to show him around and see the house, maybe as long as mom's not home. We can maybe make Totino's pizza rolls if we're really quiet.
Will was giving the worst LA vibes with his fake paint splatter shirt. Did you notice it?
Well, and the grill, too. That's old now. Grills are back.
Are we still doing that?
Grills are like early 2000s.
Also, who can afford a grill in this economy?
Well, it's just like a retainer that goes in. It's just it's an over-the-top thing. He was messing with him, telling him it was a permanent
We don't
thing.
have money for that.
It's expendable income. He could probably write it off as a business expense at this point. I don't know what the man does.
He did use it on television.
He did.
Too long didn't read. Will is discovering that Micah has changed his entire life for this girl. He's not traveling anymore. He's not modeling anymore. He's now building fences in South Florida, which sounds like a very unpleasant job. And I don't know if he'll be able to continue that once he gets to the month of August.
It's too hot. You got to stay inside. Maybe he could do that at night for a couple of hours. But even then, it's still pretty humid. So this is where Will is telling the producers, well, he seems happy. And they're like, what was that part? Seems happy? What do you mean? Well, okay. So there was one interaction that was kind of a red flag warning sign for Will. Didn't really have a great first impression with Micah's girlfriend because there was an argument that was happening with them. He's only seen some stuff over FaceTime, so he doesn't want to make any snap judgments either. He's trying to give this a chance to see how it plays out. See if she is really a crazy bitch or not.
Ooh, you better hope that this goes really downhill or you're going to be eating those words. That's not nice.
I just like the part where they ask Micah, what makes this girl so different from any of the other girls that you've dated, which we know there were a few out in LA. And he doesn't even really seem to know. He just says there's something about her.
He said she's a strong person. which again reminded me of Olivia and the fact that strong-willed women don't do well in this family.
I think if he doesn't actually know, I feel like there's too much of Mama Plath in there.
In where?
In his lady friend. It's a problem.
He sounded like he was tired of going on dates.
And that's a good reason to stop dating, but not a good reason to settle down with someone. I got sick of dating, so I landed on this one person because he starts going around with this whole mentality, well, nobody's perfect. You have to just find somebody who's mostly compatible, and then you work through everything else. But if you're arguing with someone about every little thing every single day, that's not really going to work in the long run.
I'm wondering if he's in a 90-day type relationship where he doesn't work, he has to be home and accessible to her at all times. Otherwise, they're going to get in an argument.
I get the feeling if you're someone, the type of person who has to monitor a bathroom cleanup around the sink and inspect it immediately after completion, you're also the type of person who's kind of controlling.
Evidence report.
Kind of insecure. Kind of not trusting.
Where is Poppy?
And you need to have that, because then you think she's going to let this dude go on photo shoots with other model women who are going to be on
We're
set?
making a lot of assumptions about her. Let's rein it in.
I think.
Because we're making her really sound like a shitty person, and we know that she is about to be gaslit to hell and back by this shitty man. So I don't know how much we should be reading into the situation on her side of things right now.
All right, so we'll let that one cook a little bit longer here on the back burner. Meanwhile, back in Minnesota, Olivia's back.
I work here now.
Yeah. Olivia's back at the apartment now. It's been a few days.
Oh, yeah. I don't think we left off that segment earlier. She had to excuse herself. She was like, I'll be back in a little bit because things just got weird. So I think I'll leave.
Well, she asked that question that was a little bit over the line, a little across the line, but I think she saw the fire in his eyes where he got very, very upset with her when she asked if he was happy with his family now, which clearly implies that he probably wasn't very happy with the family right now. So they're going to let it cool off for a couple of days, and then they're picking back up here.
And he's still got questions for her.
He's still angry. He's still sad because I don't think Ethan thinks about his feelings or this relationship unless Olivia is standing in the room with him.
I agree with that because he's talking about how she's moved on so quickly. She has been coming to this conclusion about the end of this marriage for a very long time now.
I think the point of him calling out how she's moved on so fast, and it's not fair to say that because I think she's just in a better place emotionally dealing with this stuff because over the past few months, she has been processing this. So yes, she is way further along in that recovery process than you.
Well, that's the problem. Ethan has always needed Olivia to process his emotions for him, and she has not been here.
That's exactly what it is.
So he is in the same exact spot as when she left.
And he doesn't know what he's going to do with all of these emotions. He still loves her very, very much. I don't think it's fair to say that. I don't think it's a good time to bring that up.
I don't think she cares.
That too. And so when you're telling somebody who doesn't care that you love them, that's just going to hurt more.
Doesn't that also seem hypocritical to say when you also handed this person a list of things that they had to adhere to in order to continue to be your partner? If you could just change all of these very important elements of who you are, we could continue to have a marriage.
And Ethan would argue the list wasn't that long. It was only like 3 things, which, if they're pretty big things, depending on the size of those things, it can impact a relationship. There's deal breakers in there.
Weren't the 3 things, I want you to stay at home and homeschool our children, even though it's going to trigger the trauma of your childhood and be subservient to me. I want you to change every political opinion that you have or don't ever express them to our children. And pretend that you believe in the religion that we were raised in.
And I think there was probably something in there about being nice to his family.
Probably.
Forever, too. Yeah, and just being okay with him being around his family and letting that stuff go because you're holding on to resentment at that point by the Plath family definition of it.
And she already knew it was going to go this direction, so she lays down the ground rule of let's just not talk about your family because we don't agree on that, and it's just going to be an argument.
Look, we need to make some progress on this divorce discussion, so let's leave that whole bit out of this conversation. Let's focus on next steps for paperwork. I'm going to need a signature before we leave. Look, we've got a few assets to settle on. I get it, but before I leave town, we have to make sure that this is on the books.
Did he not anticipate they were going to talk about this again? Because he shuts down as soon as she brings up the divorce papers.
He's hoping that she would have changed her mind by now, because this is kind of what they do. They argue, it blows up, they separate, they cool off, they come back together, and then they kind of just gloss over stuff and keep going and say that they're working on things, but not actually thinking about stuff. He's telling producers that he changed his mind as soon as he saw her, so he was hoping that she would have the same magical change of heart that he did.
That just shows that he has no understanding of what it is she has been through over the past few years.
The last thing he says in the episode to her is, can't we just make it work? So he is pleading, so I guess he's almost to acceptance if you're looking at the grief list, right? He's so close.
Next episode, Ethan and Olivia remain at odds over the future of their marriage. Kim ponders her next steps with Ken, and Ethan visits Cairo and reveals big news to his family. A visit to a tarot card reader leaves Olivia reeling and questioning her future.
Oh, I can't wait to see that reading. That's going to be some real good stuff.
Thank you for listening. If you want to support us, the best way to do that is by subscribing to the podcast and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Be sure to chat with us about the episode on our Discord channel by joining our Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod.
Stay tuned, share with friends. See you next time.